Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Series, a month-long event celebrating the authors and narrators that bring romance stories to life. Listen along as Viviana, Enchantress of Books, interviews your favorite writers and voices, share special guest posts, and stay tuned for some special information at the conclusion of the episode.
Hi, everyone. Today, I have the pleasure of chatting with the Jim Frangione. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, sure. My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Yes, thank you. For those that may not know, which I doubt this, if you listen to J.R. Ward, he is her narrator basically for all her books. But I'm going to have him tell you about himself. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been narrating and how you got started.
Well, I guess I've been doing this for a long time. About 20 years I've been narrating. And so it's been a long time. And I was I was a character actor for many, many years in New York and all over the country doing plays, mostly in theater. So you did a lot of character voices and character stuff. So I just I got a job. I think my first novel had the first job I auditioned for in audio for recorded books had a Jamaican thug and a Russian mobster in it.
Oh, gosh.
And the audition went okay, and I got the job. And I've been doing them ever since. I love it. I love narrating good stories. And J.R. Ward is a terrific storyteller.
She is. I think I started with her reading the first book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as I was like, because work and adulting happened, I'm like, are these in audio? And boom, and that's where my love of you started as well. Mm-hmm. So, but you've also done worked with other narrators. You worked with other authors as well. Christine Feehan and a couple of, you have over 300 books under your belt.
Yeah, I do.
If not more.
A ton of them. I do. My favorite is to do fiction, which this is, but most narrators, we do some nonfiction as well. And that can be a little dry and academic.
Yes.
And books about, the industrialization of this, or, it's there's not a lot of good storytelling in there, but I much prefer fiction. And in fact, I think I just finished her new novel called Darius.
Oh God,
yeah. The Darius story. And
Finally.
It's terrific. We just put it in the can a couple of days ago.
Good.
That'll be out soon.
Yeah, I think I'm one or two books behind because, as I'm sure, as you know, mm-hmm. she does all these other spin-off series. So she has this other one, and I'm going, okay, where does this fit in the storyline? So I tried to, and I think but she has like 3 or 4 new ones of another spin-off series.
Prolific writer.
Yes, and I'm going, JR, come on, let the girl catch up.
Yeah. She can write. She churns it out, which is good. I think her fan base is really, wants new material and
absolutely.
And yeah, sure.
Yeah. Funny enough, I discovered her by discovering her original pen name and did not know one and the same until I did some research because I wanted more books written by her and her, not knowing that she was the J.R. Ward. And then I discovered that, and I'm like, oh my God, no wonder I like those other books. And they were contemporary. They were not anything with PNR. So it was just interesting. But yeah, I did want to ask you something because she is quoted in a video on YouTube saying that you are a great narrator for her series because you have the ability to modulate your voice in a way that draws the listeners even further into the story. What comes to mind when you hear that?
Well, I think, my theory, and I guess my MO with narrating, excuse me, I should turn the volume off there, is less is more. And I think if you can, all of the main, you find out who the protagonist is in the story, who is the kind of the hero of the story, whether it's Wrath or Butch or, whoever. And then everybody is kind of a shade off of that voice. And the females are maybe a little lighter and the other males are a little different. And that's how I do it. I don't know whether I'm modulating my voice. I mean, with all the different characters, it's hard to keep everybody straight. But that, if you follow that logic and that you have your protagonist or your narrator or your hero is your voice, then everybody else can be just a shade, and then you delineate to let the reader understand who's speaking. And that's the key, rather than to do different quite crazy voices like that. I was going over here and I did, the more you do that, you draw attention to yourself as a narrator, I think. And you don't want to do that. You want to tell the story.
Yeah. Especially if you decide to do that for a side character in book 1 who ends up
Yeah.
being the lead character in book 14.
That's right.
And that's when the very cursing of both yourself and the author comes up into play, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Now, that's definitely something that I truly enjoy about your narration, is that you provide enough of a difference where I know who's speaking, and there's no distraction because, something off. So, that much is all the way on the negative. But yeah, I can also imagine keeping everything straight is hard.
Yeah, but she's such a good writer. She lets you know who's speaking, and in her writing, and of course, the way she writes, you know who the characters are. She has a way, I think, JR has a way of writing kind of in a um there's some hyper realism in that there's good drama, and that when you're telling one of her stories, it's easy to dive into the emotion of the story because the emotion is percolating underneath all of it. And it's easy to go there for me as a narrator and a storyteller because she's giving you all the tools you need. I do a lot of books, but she is really adept at creating a world where the emotion is very relevant and that the stakes are very high in every scene. And I think she's very good in the use of time, going back and forth in time. So it's just a pleasure to do her books, and I've really enjoyed doing them. I think we've done 30 something books together over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, other authors tend to do the whole casting announcement of a narrator and this and that, and cover reveal, and the audiobook is coming too, and then that's the announcement, and we're going, Jim's doing it, right? All right.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, after that many books, you're like, no, he has the pronunciations of the names and the places, let him be.
Yeah, there's so much backstory that I know from this series, whether it's the way back or it's just it I know all these characters. I feel like I know all of them and their stories, and that helps.
So regarding the stories of not only hers, but of all your clients and your authors that you worked with, in the 20 years that you've been doing this, obviously processes and even technology has changed when it comes down to the audiobook world.
Yeah.
How has your process for prepping a book changed from when you started from where you are now?
Well, I've gotten a little lazier. When I first started out, I had a really great, really wonderful woman named Claudia Howard, who was the head of Recorded Books in New York. And she really taught me how to be a good narrator and taught me how to play with my voice, and also taught me how to, pacing. Pacing is key. You don't want to race through a book. You don't want to run through a book. You want to land a book, and you want to find out where the moments are and let those moments really take effect and take hold, and take pauses and let the audience catch up to the story. And I think when I started narrating audiobooks, I didn't know half of anything compared to what I know now. But I would always read the book, and she taught me a lot of times if you're doing fantasy especially, there are a lot of names you have to understand, pronunciations. Fortunately, some publishers will give you a research department. They allow you to, if there's and that person or research personnel will reach out to the author and get the correct pronunciations. I think actually in J.R. Ward's series, in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, we've changed the pronunciations. She's asked for changes for characters around Hex, for instance, which is spelled XHEX, which I pronounced earlier in some novels, Zex. She said, no, it's really Hex. So we changed that. And there were a couple of other, I think, Havers, the doctor, was Havers at first, and he's now Havers. So little small changes that she had requested, which I certainly accede to. They're great changes. But I used to prep a book, and I would read every word in the book, and I would come up with a word list and words that were troubling or words that I didn't know. I'm pretty facile in terms of language and words, and I know word roots, so I kind of get the gist of how a word should be pronounced. I think from a little bit of Latin and Italian that I used to study, and so I'm like I said, I'm pretty good with that stuff. But now some books come to me that I don't prep as much. I don't read through. I kind of skim through it just to get the flavor of what it is and who the characters are and how I'm going to approach it, if that makes sense to you.
Oh, absolutely. I've had conversations with various narrators, and they go anywhere from color coding
Yeah,
to completely cold reads. So I'm like,
Right.
there's a gamut.
Yeah, there's a female narrator I know who is really wonderful, and she uses I think it's iAnnotate, where you can really just color, all the different characters are different. That's way too much work for me. And I don't engineer my own books. A lot of narrators can do all of the editing, and I prefer to. I have an engineer whom I work with, Jason, and he and I we do all our books together. I just don't want to have to be, because if I'm focusing on editing and mastering and proofing and all that stuff, then I'm missing something in the story. So I want to make sure I'm right there, just not pushing buttons, but telling story.
So with that process then of having the engineer and you not editing your files, that means that you're not doing the punch and roll. So you're just
Right.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll do a punch record, what we call punch and roll, and other times it's a straight record, which is I just do it and I don't stop. I'll say, let's go back here, and I'll just keep going. But that puts a lot of burden on the editor at the end to piece together everything. What we generally do is a punch record or a punch roll. So we give the publisher a rough edit. So we kind of edit it together on the fly. And then we do pickups and mastering and proofing and stuff like that later.
Yeah, because I know a lot of the narrators will do that punch and roll as they're recording the books as well.
Yeah.
So it's a interesting.
Yeah, I've done it both ways. I think you can get through a book quicker if you do what they call the straight record, but punch record is just fine.
Yeah. Again, different ways of doing things.
Yeah, your audience may not understand a lot of the ins and outs of it, but
well, that's why I have conversations with you guys, so we better understand what goes on, with all this process.
Yeah,
aside
sure.
from the pretty package that we get in our earbuds, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, right. That's right.
And I give you guys your dues for that reason.
No, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of work, and it's also exhausting. I know sometimes people be like, oh, well, the narrators are in a booth, they're at home, blah, blah, blah. How easy could it be? But it really isn't, because, you're sitting still for how many hours a day do you record?
Well, I used to be able to go, I was a horse. I used to be able to go from 10 in the morning till like 5 or 5:30 at night, but I can't do that anymore. My voice just doesn't hold out. And so we start at 10:30 and usually in the morning, and we'll go till 3:00 or something like that. Take a few little short breaks in there. And that's plenty. But you're a bit of a wet noodle after 4 or 5 hours in the studio.
I can imagine. It's like, mom.
I try not to talk too much after that.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Get into long conversation.
That is true, because I know what it's like when I have to do like phone calls at the day job.
Oh, yeah.
The last thing I want to do is get on another phone call for fun. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. Yeah. Does that mean that you have a routine to maybe like a warm up of sorts before you start recording, or even after you record, as far as for your voice?
Well, not really. No, I just try not to get into. I work a lot in the theater, and I run a theater company, and so I'm involved in a lot of the rehearsals and in the editorials aspect with the playwrights. We do new plays, and so there's a lot of that work, but I really don't try to not talk. That's kind of kooky. My wife probably wouldn't go for that. But I do. Yeah, no, I try not to. What I do in the booth is to keep my voice lubricated. I have some really good herbal tea. This is called Throat Comfort, which sometimes it has lemon and sometimes not, but it's a great herbal tea. And I have the sugar-free Ricolas, and between the Ricolas and the tea, it keeps me pretty lubed up. Keep the pipes going.
Yeah. Imagine. Yeah, I know that tea is something that a lot of you guys as narrators have quite handy.
Oh yeah, hot fluid, and I have a big thermos that I keep, here with me in the booth. Everybody's different what they use, but I like having a, really hot fluid to just, it just kind of lubricates the throat for me for those sex scenes,
Yeah.
especially.
Oh my goodness. Since you brought that up, especially when it comes down to romance books, there is a lot of that. There's all these. The author is no longer fade to black.
Yeah. Some authors are going more into the sex and the eroticism of it, which is fine, and some are leaving it a little bit more to your imagination. I don't know. I'm trying to think whether the Black Dagger Brotherhood, which way that's going. I think JR uses the eroticism and the sex scenes as a way. It's not
a shock
gratuitous.
factor. Yeah.
It's not a shock factor. It's not gratuitous. It's not there just for sex. She uses the sex scenes as a way to bridge a relationship and to bring people, together. And they're all, I love doing them. They're fun, and you got to go there. You can't shy away from sex scenes, as I'm sure you and other narrators have said. You gotta go for it, and I enjoy it.
Yeah. Was it always like that for you, having the acting background, or is it something that after 20 years you're like, I'm good?
I after a day of some long sex scenes, I'll say to my wife, honey, I said, you're off the hook tonight.
Oh God, no.
No, I'm kidding.
No, kidding. I know. No, I meant more along the lines of the blushing and the turning red that people imagine.
No, I don't
you guys
blush anymore. It's just it doesn't even faze me anymore. Some narrators are very sensitive about it. They have stage names and nom de guerres, and they have different names for when they record erotica. I don't care. It's doesn't matter to me. I enjoy it if it's well done. I mean, if it's gratuitous, it can be a little boring or a little bit I don't know, exploitative. But it's like, for instance, J.R. Ward writes it's so well written that the momentum of the story moves you forward, and the momentum of it really gets you into it, and you have a way of kind of moving with the story. So if that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely. I think sometimes authors will use the sex scenes as fillers because the plot is not really there, or they're trying to extenuate. And when you have an author that can include the sex scenes as part of the story and the character development and things like that, and as you were saying, as a bridge in the relationship as well, that's really an author that you kind of want to keep. I know that's like Autumn. I think, here you go. And I have a handful of other ones too. But I also can imagine, I'm not a prude whatsoever, but if I had to read some of those sexy lines in front of an engineer or anybody else, I might get a little bit like, okay. But
well, he's in another booth we're not looking at each other. Maybe that helps. We're just doing it.
Yeah,
you can laugh about this stuff too.
No, that's definitely how some people go about it, and some people I know that really have fun and mess with the engineers. So right. I can imagine. But I'm glad that you no longer blush at all and stuff like that. Because
it takes a lot to make me blush. It takes a lot.
Good to know. I'm not gonna take that as a challenge for now. Maybe next time we hang out.
Okay. Next time.
Yep. What is your favorite genre in romance to narrate? Because again, romance is like an umbrella term, and we have all these subgenres between paranormal and contemporary and all this other fun stuff. Do you have a favorite genre, a subgenre to narrate?
I like paranormal stuff. I like fantasy. Um, Something like, the Black Dagger Brotherhood is really in my wheelhouse. That's the kind of story that that I like. There's the characters are all well drawn. So I guess I don't really have a particular genre that I lean toward. I generally go with whatever the job is, or whatever the producer or the publisher throws at me. I do some non-romance stuff too. I do a really fun series called the Chet and Bernie Mysteries, and it's about a guy who's in the Southwest, and he's a private detective, and he goes on these great adventures. There's a missing kid, or something happens, and some of it is a little gritty, but the stories are told by his dog Chet,
Oh,
and
God.
it sounds corny, but
It's so
they
cute.
are brilliant. They are brilliant, and they're written by Spencer Quinn. I'm not plugging the series, but they're so much fun to do, and they're so well written that I just love them. I think we've done about 13 or 14 books in the series.
Wow. We as listeners love knowing what you guys enjoy recording, because I
Mhm.
think that there's sometimes, not saying that anybody or everybody has done this at one time or another, but the whole like phoning something in because the material
Mhm.
wasn't something that they were excited about. But so when
Yeah.
we do know that you're excited about it, we're like, what's the name of that book again? And we write it down, and we,
Yeah.
check it out. So that's always good to know. And it's fun. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Is there a genre that you have yet to narrate in? Not just within romance, but in
Oh
general,
boy.
that you
I
want,
don't
that you're like, I haven't done it.
I don't think so. Radio drama or audio drama is something I don't do a lot of, with multiple narrators, and that could be
Yes.
fun. I've never done, because I work a lot in the theater.
Yeah.
That might be fun for me to explore, with different characters doing different parts in plays and things like that. I'm not sure how logistically it could be done. You'd have to all be in kind of a similar booth, a booth, or
Zoom.
maybe Zoom, sure. And that's been done too,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
everybody's, different setup, but that might be one thing I might like to do.
Okay. So
Yeah.
multicast drama. A lot of authors. I know that
Yeah.
Aaron
Or
Mallon.
yeah, right. Or comedy, drama or comedy. I shouldn't, differentiate. It's any good play would be fun to do.
Yeah. I was saying like Aaron Mallon has been doing a couple of those
Oh yeah.
multicast
Mm,
dramas, like audio plays. And
yeah.
some of them are funny and some of them are quirky. And it's like, oh my goodness, it's a little different than a multicast book, because it kind of
Yeah.
reads a little bit like a play. But yeah, I think you would definitely have fun with those.
I think LA Theater Works does a bunch of them, and Audible has started to get into them recently. They've got a few. I think it's easier when you've got a 2 or a 3 character play, or comedy to do. When you get into, multiple characters, it's the logistics of it can be a little daunting, I'm sure.
Yes, yes. But it's all in good fun as far as how
Yeah.
the engineers do it afterwards. Is like brilliant. It almost makes us think that you guys were in the same room, even though most of the time, especially now in the past 2 years, you were not.
Right.
Yeah. So a couple more questions for you, 'cause I know you have to go. When you're not working, what do you do for fun?
Well, what do I do? I have a motorcycle, and I ride I where I am up in the country. I have there's some beautiful country roads to ride on, and I have a Harley Davidson Street Bob, which I love, and
Nice.
so I like to get out and ride and get the wind in my face and smell the flowers and that's the beauty of riding a motorcycle, is that you get this olfactory kind of assault with the various temperatures of the wind, of the air, and the the flavor of the countryside and all of that. I love that. I'm a sports person as well. I played sports when I was young and all through college, and I love ice hockey and baseball, and so I love to do that. have my 2 kitty cats, give me a lot of pleasure. I in my downtime, I'm trying to think, what else do I do? Just I have I'm always kind of up on what's happening in the American theater and who's writing new plays, what are the new plays that are coming out. I'm always interested in new writers and new writing, and that's really what keeps me going.
Cool. That's a lot of different individual items, but all fun.
Yeah, and I do a little bit of woodworking. I refinish wood, and I'll take a piece of furniture and refinish it a little bit. I enjoy doing that stuff, and I have a group of friends with whom I get together, and we shoot the breeze. And I have some longtime friends who I've been friends with since the 5th grade, and so we have a shorthand that we speak often.
Ooh, the stories that they could tell.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
About me, I'm sure.
Yes.
That's not all flattering. You can bet.
I remember this one time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely something I do have on my bucket list, is learning how to work with wood. For some reason, I've always loved like furniture pieces made out of wood, and you'll even hear me. In fact, there's a funny story where one time I was in a store with antiques and vintage stuff, and I'm like, damn, look at the legs on that one. And I was talking about a chair. But everybody turned around. I'm like, the chair.
It's the chair.
Right? It's a chair.
Right. My dad was a carpenter and a builder on Cape Cod in Massachusetts, and so I grew up with all of it. And I grew up with him, and I would have to work for him on the weekends, which was torture, and then when I got into my teenage years, I did end up working for him in the summers, and I learned a little bit, just enough to kind of whet my interest in terms of woodworking and stuff. And then but working for your father is a difficult proposition. You can't,
yes.
Yeah, I was kind of low person on the totem pole, and so I was asked to do, basically dig ditches and move that ditch from here to over there, or moving, asphalt shingles up to 5 flights of staging. And but I did take a lot of what I learned later in life, and when I was a struggling actor in New York City many years ago, I did a lot of painting and some kind of handyman stuff, and that's how I made my living outside of the theater. I did thousands of jobs in skating rink managers, and I drove a limousine for a while. It's all kinds of things, but woodworking and painting and things like that were always a way for me to kind of earn some money. In those lean years.
Yes. It's an art. And again, it's on my bucket list, but now you're going to remember the whole, damn, look at the legs on that one. Next time you're working on some wood.
Exactly. Well, working on wood and is something you do with your hands is very satisfying, I find. And at the end of the day, there's something there. And it's like building a house. There's actually something, the fruits of your labors are on display, as opposed to pushing pencils and doing what we do, where everything is kind of, at the end of the day, it's kind of in the ether, or in the theater, it's it disappears or dissipates. Audiobooks kind of stay around for a little while, but that appeals to me. I like working with my hands and making something out of, or kind of refurbishing something or renovating something.
Yeah.
That I enjoy doing that stuff too.
Yeah, I have a couple of unfinished projects in the garage.
Do you?
Yeah, because I like going and not antiquing or anything like that, but I'll go to thrift shops, and my sister lives in Sebrings, which is also known as God's waiting room, and and so there's a lot of places there that are get people donations happens and stuff like that, because people have passed. And so I've gotten a couple of pieces, and I'm like, one day I'll get to you, honey. One day I'll get to you. But yeah, no, my dining room table is something I did myself, and the same thing with the furniture. Yeah, I'll have to send you pictures. That one also has some good legs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
just give me an orbital sander and some 60 grit paper, and I'm ready, and some tongue oil. I'm ready to go.
Nah, exactly. It's like, you're there. See, my people. Yeah. See, I knew I liked you for more than just your voice.
Thank you.
Welcome. The other thing too that I think a lot of people kind of have in common is the love of music.
Mhm.
And there's always that one song that it doesn't matter what it, where you're at, public or private, in this grocery store or in the car, when it comes on, you got to start singing or jiving
Oh,
or
wow.
something. Yeah. Do you have a song like that? And what is it?
Well, I love soul and funk and old school kind of funk. So anything by James Brown will just get me up and rolling. I don't know if there's really just the one song, but oh gosh, no, it's just, everything. I grew up, listening to a lot of kind of British glam rock, and now your tastes change over the years, and so now it's all, I like exploring music, and I listen to classical, I listen to rock, and I listen to funk, and yeah, some good James Brown or some Al Green, or just uh, I listen to it all.
Good. Okay. Can I now have a visual of you going down the grocery aisle?
Oh yeah.
And then the song comes up and I can I can see you grooving. You guys work with words all the time. Do you have a favorite word?
A favorite word?
Yeah,
Wow.
Not to be confused with a curse word, because that's the second part of this question.
That's a good one. A favorite word could be synthesis. I like the way that word sounds. It's a little difficult to say sometimes if your S's aren't there, but I like that it's not only an interesting word to say, but I like what it means. The confluence of two things, or the alchemy of two things, the synthesis of two things coming together.
Yeah. I like that. So the second part, what's your favorite curse word?
Oh, well, I'll take my cue from David Mamet and go right to the F word.
That is also Jared Ward's favorite one too, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she uses it quite a lot.
She's got a couple that she uses. I think Wrath has got a couple. And then there's Butch.
Yes.
My Boston buddy.
Yeah.
Butch talks like that. Come on, Viviana.
Oh,
Let's do some audio.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's like fangirl down right now.
Yeah, she writes great characters. Yeah, I think Butch is probably one of my favorite characters in the Brotherhood. Wrath is great, but and Zadist and Fury. But
I can see that.
I do like Butch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're all great. She creates all different personalities for them, which is really her skill.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely a classic word to go with when it comes down to favorite curse words. So before we go, can you tell us what you're currently working on, or what's coming out next for you that you can share?
I'm doing a book right now that is really beautiful. It's a piece of literary fiction called The Voyage. It's by Philip Caputo, and I'm doing it for Blackstone Audio. And it's just an epic adventure story. But it's a really wonderful story. And I'm thrilled to tell it. So I'm about halfway through. It's going to take me it's a big book. It's going to take me another week in the studio to get it in the can. And that's what's going on. And then I do have, following that, I do have another Chet and Bernie book. And that one, all of the books in the Chet and Bernie series are called, like, for instance, the first one was called Dog on It, or Thereby Hangs a Tale, or The Sound and the Furry, or those kinds of funny little. And this next one is, I think, one of the best titles yet. It's called Bark to the Future.
Oh my goodness.
Bark to the Future, which I howled, no pun intended, when I heard that. So I'll do that one pretty soon as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be other J.R. Ward books when she's finished writing them.
Oh
so.
yeah. Oh no.
Mhm.
Well, well, in fact, I think I'm doing an event with her
Oh,
in
really?
July. I think we may be doing an event together at some point,
Is
which
it the Readers in the River, maybe?
I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I think that the publisher just reached out to me recently about doing it, and
Oh,
I get a kick out of her. She is
yeah.
funny
Yes.
and irreverent, and we have fun together.
Yeah.
So
I've
that
had
should
the
be fun.
pleasure of meeting her a few times.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yes.
great.
So she gives great hugs. She is very funny and has always been very sweet.
Oh, that's great.
Quick-witted too. I'm like, damn. And the
Yeah.
sarcasm, like, I love you. I love
I
you.
think
so-
there's one, isn't there one kind of it's like a convention in Ohio, maybe, that her listeners, a lot of the fans go to, and it's where she announces the next book kind of
Yeah,
event,
she
right?
does that. Those little they're like almost like a little bit of a signing / convention-ish
Yeah, that's
kind of
right.
thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of private as far as it's not huge, like it's like 500 people. It's a
Yeah.
smaller amount. And those are
Yeah.
great. Those also get recorded and placed on
Oh yeah, they sound like
streamed.
a
Yeah.
fun gathering.
Yes, I'm gonna have
You
to
know.
email you about a couple of other events that you
Oh
might
yeah,
be interested in.
please do. Please do.
Yeah, because I
You know,
think it'd be fun for you.
my only regret about doing all those wonderful books for J.R. Ward is that they never put my picture on the cover of the books. It's always somebody like Fabio or, some handsome guy with chiseled abs. And I'm like, what? I guess I have a good voice for audio.
Yeah.
And that's, or a great face for audio.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm gonna live the dream, and someday maybe they'll put me like naked from the waist up on one of those books. But I don't know if it would sell very well.
I hope that J.R. Ward and her team is listening to this, and just for shits and giggles, just say, "Hey, we're going to do a photo shoot. You want this?"
Oh yeah,
I'll
get a long blonde wig and Photoshop my head on somebody else's body. That would be the only way that it would happen.
You can carry a cool sword.
Damn right.
Or a dagger, it's like, so I think it could be done. I'll have to talk to her team and say, hey,
I'm ready.
Jim kind of in conversation with me kind of mentioned this, and with all the books and stuff, I give him a little, put him on the cover.
Even on the back cover.
A special edition, limited edition.
Limited edition, very limited.
Yes. Yeah, I know. But she's the funny thing is though, she would probably do it.
I doubt it.
Oh, well, just for fun.
Well, that's kind of you to say.
Yes, but she'll probably get you like, let's go, let's do this. And who knows, maybe she'll do a co-cover with you too. That'd be kind of fun. Her and her pearls.
Maybe I'll show up in a long blonde wig and
in a kilt
with some chiseled abs. Oh, in a kilt, yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that way you can do J.R. Ward's books, but also anything to have to do with like historical romance in Highlanderville. So you're set.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Right.
See? Completely new career for you now, Jim.
Ooh, yes, the kilt.
And you do know what to say the difference between a kilt and a skirt is, so
I do.
Yes. So for those that don't know, Google it.
Yes. Kilt is no underwear worn, I believe.
Yes. It's all a natural, as it's supposed to be. Yes. Well,
Yes,
thank you.
I've worn a kilt.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, good.
I have indeed.
Yes. That's always when it comes to the book cons. It's one of the questions a lot of the romance authors are like, are the cover models going to be having like a Highlander themed day? And I'm like, we can ask. It happens sometimes. They used to. The days of cons. But they're coming back. So I will definitely be emailing you a list of the ones that are coming up. And there's actually one particular in Chicago. It's called Allure. And they are only about audiobooks.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So I'll send you that info so you can check it out.
Please.
Yeah. And perhaps you can come visit and get to know some of your fans in person.
Would love to. I'd love to meet some fans. I truly would.
Yeah, no, you have a lot of them. So I'm so thrilled that we got a chance to talk. So thank you for being part of this year's Audiobook Lovin Series. I truly appreciate you and your time.
Oh, my pleasure. I enjoyed speaking with you, Viviana.
Thank you. And everyone, thank you for hanging out with us today. And we hope you've enjoyed this chat as well as the series. Information on Jim and the books that he's been narrating and has narrated will be over at the Audiobook Lovin Series page at Viviana, Enchantress of Books. And until next time, happy listenings.
Thank you for joining us in the Audiobook Lovin Series, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. We hope you have enjoyed this episode, as well as the series. We've included audio samples of our guests' work within the post for you to check out. Please make sure to visit the main page, link within the post, to learn more about the series, the authors, and the narrators. Please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to the series if you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to follow us on our social media platforms and subscribe to the Viviana Enchantress of Books newsletter. Until next time, happy listening. Audiobook Lovin hopes you've enjoyed this program.